Alrighty, hello everyone. My name is Greg Colbert, and this is COMM's 105, Fall 1, 2021. This is my practice 2 of my speech involving my final presentation for later this season, or for this year, I should say. And my topic is on proper etiquette to sampling wine. So if you follow along with the PowerPoint presentation for this particular speech I'm going to be giving you, we'll be going over about 8 different slides to kind of discuss a little bit about the proper etiquette of wine, of how to sample it, the history of it, how to prepare for a sample, and most importantly, just remembering to always have a good time with it. So I hope you enjoy this presentation, and thanks for following along. So what we will be covering in this presentation, first and foremost, we're going to be identifying those with various interests of wine sampling. So the average wine sampler, if you will, is not, everybody is different in every way of how they do it. Sampling is an art, is a craft, but more importantly, it's something to enjoy, something to share with your family and friends, coworkers, even new friends you're trying to meet. There's not ever a situation where you have the same exact sampler. Although people have similar interests, there's always going to be somebody that does a little bit differently. But hopefully these are all tools that you're going to be able to follow along with the next time you decide to go sampling wine. Individuals looking to sample wine correctly. There is a proper etiquette way to do it, and I hope in this presentation you understand or take away some of the importance of that. The introductory of the history of wine. Wine has its own history and culture, so we'll be touching on that briefly. Red wines versus white wines. That's always a key indicator of what kind of wine drinker you're going to be. What would you like to sample? And then the proper pour and measure. So that's what we're going to be studying today, or going over today. So again, I hope you enjoy. So various interests, wine connoisseurs, those who are interested in the field have many different palates. You'll notice that people prefer red dry wines versus red sweet wines, and vice versa on their counterpart in the whites. There are white dry samplers. There's samplers who enjoy sweeter whites. Then there's samplers that enjoy all the same. So it really just depends on what you enjoy your wine with, how you like to sip it. There's people that are very seasonal drinkers, if you will. So they enjoy it at certain times of the year, a certain type. I'll use myself as an example. I am more of a white wine drinker in the summertime versus in the wintertime when it's a bit colder. I usually tend to lean more towards reds. There was a case study in that same information where in 2020, wineintelligence.com survey estimated that 1 in every 3 Americans, I should say, drink wine on a consistent basis. And I share that because wine has its very unique properties for health. It's something that's celebrated in religious venues. It's a great social gathering type of activity to do. So to expand on that a little bit, again, 1 in every 3 Americans who sample wine, that's not surprising to say the least. That same data was also shared in a 2018 Statista survey in which they sampled various different group ages. And when one of the group individuals was 18 to 29, and they showed about a 38.7% respondent rate of red wine drinkers. I share that, especially in that small of a sample size for that particular age group, because I think it's interesting that as you grow up in life, if you're anybody who's enjoyed a libation or wine in any kind of way, you will always know that but in your earlier years going into as you get older, you kind of test and explore a little bit more about the different palates you have for the different types of alcoholic beverages you want to enjoy. So I always feel like 18 to 29 is a perfect year or a perfect age range to determine what is going to be your choice as you get older. So that's why I wanted to share that a little bit. Moving on, we want to go ahead and explore the correct way of wine sampling. You always want to make sure whenever you're visiting a vineyard or wine sampling restaurant that you always want to make sure you have your reservation set. These things tend to be crowded, especially certain times of the year, and especially if there's a type of venue, like maybe a wedding or some type of celebration for a birthday or retirement or anything that you might have. These things tend to get a little bit packed, so you always want to make sure you have the right reservation set and give it enough time to make that reservation. Also, make sure you have the right head count as well. That's always important. Proper dress attire is always a must when you do it. You want to be comfortable, but I always lean towards business casual. So comfortable shoes, comfortable pants that are fitting just properly, comfortable clothing. That's the proper etiquette in doing it. You never want to go in there with a baggy jeans, boots, or, inappropriate language on a t-shirt or on a sweater. You just want to go in there, I would say business casual. You do that, and then you'll be respected as a wine connoisseur. Technique. I can't express that enough. That is very important. There's 4 steps to that technique. One is swirling for aeration, especially with your reds. You always want to make sure there's enough oxidation going on in the cup to make sure that the aroma and the acidity in the red wine has a chance to breathe, and it allows the flavors to kind of come out a little bit more bolder. You always want to smell the aroma, so you want to make sure you dip your nose in a little bit to the cup, not so much where you're forcing it on your face, but you want to dip it in a little bit, just like my picture in my presentation shows, of just getting a good sense after you swirl and make sure that those notes have been opened up with the oxygen. That way you can be able to smell the aroma, but also know what you're enjoying. Taste is very important. When you actually take that sip, you want to allow it to kind of hit all 4 corners of your tongue, kind of swish it around a little bit in your mouth to make sure you get the full flavor of it, be able to understand and kind of identify what type of ingredients are in that wine so that you can know what you're drinking. And then spit. Although that is a nasty thing to say, spit is very important because you want to make sure you spit it in a cup so that it's you can clean your palate, and then you can move on to the next sample. Cleaning your palate is always good. Best practices is either a piece of chocolate or some type of bread. That's the best way to clean it. That way you can sample the next wine, whether it be red, white, or any other in between. And then you always want to pace yourself. You never want to drink too much, drink too fast. You want to enjoy the experience. It's something that you want to spend hours doing. It's an activity that you really want to enjoy. It's not something you want to rush the whole time that you're there. Given all that, the history of wine is very, very unique in its culture. Wine has been produced for many millennia. Different cultures, different countries, different types of people, explored in so many different ways. And it's been something that's been celebrated often. It's always used for some type of celebration, whether it be the birth of a child, a wedding, a death in the family, an achievement in life. It's always something that's always going to be there. Always celebrated in family and religious rituals. I myself am Catholic, so I use it or I experience it every Sunday when I go to church, when we celebrate the blood and body of Christ that's represented in bread and wine. So that's something that I always use in my own religious experiences. And then the health benefits for heart and organ function is always good. It has been proven that a glass of wine each day does help with heart disease and to reduce it. I would like to show more statistics about that, but it's definitely has its health benefits as well. Red wines versus white wines. Obviously, color distinction is always going to play a role in that. Obviously, you can tell the difference between red and white wines. Taste. Red wines tend to be a little bit more on the acidic side versus their white counterparts, where their flavoring is a little bit more sweeter and to some extent, but you do have dry wines that have that acidic taste to it as well. Most red wines come from a dark skinned fruit, so your blueberries, your blackberries, raspberries, etc. White wines are a little bit the same: pears, apples, lighter skinned grapes, etc. Red wine has a little bit more, again, acidic to the texture, and white wine incorporates a little bit more of a sugar content than its red wine counterpart. Further and foremost, proper pour measurements is always good. Whenever you pour, you always want to pour a typical 2 to 3 ounces. You never want to go more than that. Average serving size for a standard bottle is about 10 servings per bottle. So you're looking at about a couple of different bottles, depending on the size of group that you have. You always want to practice proper sampling etiquette, which I just discussed in slide 4. And then you always want to enjoy. You always want to enjoy the experience. You never want it to be a chore. You want to enjoy the wine that you're drinking. So in conclusion, sampling wine can be fun, exciting, and rewarding. Always share with the experience with your friends, family, coworkers, or maybe a new group of people you're trying to meet. Enjoy it yourself, and always enjoy the culture and allow it to educate you, because there's so much that you can learn with wine. With that being said, if I do open up the floor to any questions that you might have, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thank you so much.